Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and guests. This meeting of online presenter has now begun. Guests, please note that in order to be a member of our club, you must be a current or former active member of Toastmasters International and have completed at least 6 Toastmasters official speeches. If you have substantial relevant presentation experience, you may apply for membership after demonstrating your abilities in a 2 to 3 minute speech delivered during one of our club meetings. All requests for membership are subject to approval by the members of our club. If you have not already done so, please change your panel to ensure it shows your name and role if you have one. Right-click and select Rename to do so. We have members and guests from many countries throughout the world. Thus, as a professional organization, we ask that you please be aware of language or word usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. Please note that we will be recording the meeting. Your video or audio contribution may be used for club marketing purposes. Also, please mute your microphone when you're not speaking. Please welcome our club president, DTM Andrew Byrne.
Thank you very much, Carolina. And is everyone able to hear me? Let me just go over here. Okay. Welcome, everyone. We're very excited to have you join us on Online Presenters. There's a group of people that have international flavor. We have people from many countries throughout the world, and we are happy that you're here with us today. You'll have something a little bit different, a little bit exciting, and your contributions, your impact on the club is very important to all of us. I want you to be aware of a couple of things coming down. The first is the training, the Toastmasters International Institutes, or the TLIs that are coming along. Sometimes they're called Club Officer Training, and that's offered twice a year. One round is now, takes place from June through August, and then there's another one that goes from December to January. And you need both of them if you're an officer. But what I'd love to see is every single person have skin in the game, like everybody, to pair up with a role that you might envision yourself doing next year, so that we have a minimum of 3-people teams for every role. And in doing so, you have the ability to fill in and be an understudy when someone is sick. And this would be a wonderful thing to do, because then we never have to worry about it. And then when we come to our renewals, because renewal time is coming up very shortly, we could then ask all the officers and all the members that are backing up the officers to submit their monies for the new year, and we'll be totally covered. So those are the two things that are coming up. We're starting to head into, for district clubs, into the contest season, and we do contests as well, but it's a little bit different in terms of the hierarchy going up into districts. So just to touch base on those things for you all. Back to you.
So good evening, everybody. I'm Angela, and I am your Toastmaster for the day. Welcome to Cyberspace. Some of you may be wondering, what exactly is cyberspace? Let me give you the quick definition. It's the environment of the internet, the virtual space that's created by interconnectivity of computers. But I like this definition. It's the global domain wherein the information environment, it consists of interdependent networks of information systems, infrastructures, internet, telecom networks, computer systems, processors, controllers, and soon to be the metaverse. And the reason I love it is because we are in cyberspace right now. People are all over the world, but yet we see and talk to each other. And with that being said, let's turn our attention to the tip of the day, which is Pamela Benjamin doing a 3 to 5 minute tip. Pamela, welcome to Cyberspace.
Thank you, Angela. I want to talk to you about productivity. I've talked to you about it before. I'm going to talk to you about it again. Just a moment. If I want to help you get really productive, how can I do that? I've been working on Notion. Notion is something that looks very, very simple, but when you start putting it together, it can look a little bit more complicated. I'm working with a group that does tech videos, and we're calling ourselves Clear Tech Guys. Notion is a lot like a house that's made out of bricks. Now, we know we see the house and we know we have bricks. When you're working with Notion, you can get confused by all the different houses, or what they call workspaces. Workspaces are all the different contained processes, and there's workspaces within workspaces. But what I really want you to understand is are the two big pieces of what Notion is. Notion consists of a page, like you see on the right, and a workspace that you see on the left. Now, the workspaces are very different depending on what you want to organize and how much information you want to organize. This is your basic page right here. You can see it's untitled, and you can turn this page into one of these 6 different items. You can see how flexible it is. It looks very simple, like a very plain piece of paper, but it is a tool that helps you manage a lot of information. Here is a type of database that is used by a company, and they have it's a series of links and information that their employees can use, employee benefits, invoicing clients, a lot of different tools in one very well organized place. This is the different page. So the workspace is more like the house, and the pages are the bricks to the house. This is that page that starts out simply, but you can turn this in, you can choose to use a template. This is the template page. If you would click on this right here, see that little colored thing? This pops up. Now this is a drop-down box, and you have the option of using templates from a lot of different ideas or thoughts. Design, student, engineering, and they have pages in there that they've made into templates that you can use a lot for a lot of different things. Here's a goal-specific one, and each of these rectangles has a page underneath it. So what are we going to build today? I want to show you something that I have built, and it is, I spent some time doing it, and I want to use the analogy again of building houses, because it helps. Not that you're building houses, but you're building information. And just like you can't take a bunch of paper and information and make an organization system, you need to use thought process. Here are 2 different workspaces I designed, and I call this Design Your Workspace. Now, this is a modern mansion, and this is a cozy cottage. You'll see that this mansion has a first floor, and it has a second floor, and there's a pool out back. And this is representative of your information. You want to think about how you're going to organize it, the different subsets. This is a link up here. These are different types of stoves you might have. Now I'm in the kitchen. I could go up one to modern mansion. I'm going to go back to Design Your Workspace right up here. So I'm going up 2 levels, and here's cozy cottage. Here is that cozy cottage kitchen, and those are the pictures. So in closing, I tried to use a metaphor to help make the idea of organizing your information really simple. A, what do you want to build? What do you want to track? You can build a really big mansion. You can build a tiny, cozy little place. It depends on the worksheets you want to create and how they're going to work together. And then the aesthetic part is the pictures you choose and the coloring. So I encourage you to go to Notion, try it, download some pages, play with some templates, and start to see what kind of workspace you'd like to create. Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela. Now, a meeting such as this in cyberspace could never happen unless we have a lot of different people stepping in to make sure it runs well. Our first helper is Lou, and Lou is doing double duty. We need to give him 2 hands of applause. He's doing timing and chat monitor. Yay, Lou, tell us in 30 seconds, what are you going to be doing?
Certainly, Madam Toastmaster, as timer, I'll be keeping track of everyone's times with respect to their unique speaking engagements, whether it's a prepared speech, an evaluation, or a table topic, each with different timing parameters, as all of us experienced Toastmasters know. As chat monitor, I will monitor the chat to see what interesting information people share with regard to today's speeches and meeting and so forth, and share both of those items in a report at the end of the meeting. Back to you, Angela.
Thank you so much, Lou. Our next supportive role is Joni. She is the counter. What does the counter do, Joni?
Jamaican version. As the counter today, I will be noting all of the pregnant pauses, the filler words, the repeated words, and the just you were thinking too long and it showed. At the end of the meeting, when called upon to do so, I will give my report and choose the Wizard of Oz. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster, today.
Thank you, Joni. And we have a visitor who came just to check us out, and now we put her to work. So Linda will be our grammarian tonight. Take 30 seconds and tell us, what will you be doing?
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster of the day. I am Toastmaster Linda Clark, and I am pleased, so pleased to serve as your grammarian for this evening. And my role is simple. I will be ensuring the proper use, as we say in the Bahamas, the proper use of the Queen's English throughout the course of tonight's meeting. Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster of the day.
And thank you so much for visiting and lending a helping hand. It's hard to find help out in cyberspace. Our watcher for today is Andre. Tell us what you are going to be doing as.
Thank you, Angela. I'm Andre, and I'm your watcher for this evening. As we are all in the cyberspace and based in different countries throughout the world, the watcher's role becomes increasingly important in our online club. I will be looking out for the way we perform in this online meeting. Our backgrounds, I have none, I just decided to do it. Many of us have it. How we look, how backgrounds look, how happy we are. I will be watching everything, and I'll report back at the end of the meeting, hopefully with few things to improve. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster of the evening.
Thank you so much. And our final person, we have to give her a double round of applause because she wasn't feeling good, but she said, I'm going anyway. Welcome, Maggie, our vote counter. Tell us what you will do today. And thank you for coming.
Thank you, Toastmaster, Madam Toastmaster Angela. So who doesn't want to be awarded? Oh, I don't know whether you can see this. Hope this is a Cyberspace Award, first place. So tonight I'm going to organize 3 internal competition, the best speech, the best table topic speech, and also the best evaluation. I'll be collecting the votes and then hopefully we'll represent the trophy to you. Back to you, Angela.
Okay, so let's get this show on the road. We have two exciting speeches to hear. The first one is Natalia Van Nelson. And the title of it is, It Takes Courage to Join Toastmasters. It takes courage to join Toastmasters, and this is part of Dynamic Leadership Level 1, Mastering the Fundamentals. It is an icebreaker timer, 4 to 6 minutes. So she joined Toastmasters back in 1996, and she took a hiatus, came back in 2015. She's now pursuing her DTM in Pathways, and she's a member of 4 Toastmasters clubs. She has completed 2 pathways, and she is completing her 3rd one, Presentation Mastering. So with that, she is going to tell us that it takes courage to join Toastmasters. Over to you, speaker Natalia.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the evening. I would like to see a show of hands. How many of you, by a show of hands, have ever tried something that you were terrified to try? Great. You displayed courage. Wonderful. This is not an ordinary icebreaker speech. Once you have completed so many icebreaker speeches, each pathway starts with an icebreaker, you start to become very creative. So tonight, I am going to share a little bit about me to you regarding my love for Toastmasters and how I have had to be so courageous throughout everything that I've attempted. Winston Churchill stated, "Courage is what it takes to stand up and speak," which is what we all do here. Courage is also what it takes to sit down and listen, which is what my evaluator, Toastmaster Durling, is doing at this time here, listening to me. How does this relate to Toastmasters and the courage and the fear of speaking, which is what I had, and I still have it? I believe that it's normal. What is normal? We're Toastmasters, we're normal, and we're also courageous. So tonight, I want to go over just a few items with you where I have, first of all, joined an advanced Toastmasters online presenters, and I'm challenging my courageous characteristic in cyberspace. Woo. Talking about courageous. One way that I challenge myself, and just so that you all know a little about me in that regard, I love a challenge. I do teach, and just because I am an educator and I work with adults within my district, the professional learning department, that does not mean that I am an expert. I hone my skills. I stretch beyond myself, so to speak. And the picture that you're currently seeing here, this is where I went outside of my comfort zone. I moderated a panel discussion talking about jumping out of your comfort zone into outer space, so to speak. I had to arrange the speakers. I had to promote the panel discussion, how to ace your next job interview and get the job. I also had to create the marketing, but I handled that. That was my being courageous. Impromptu speaking was another issue or challenge that I stepped into Toastmasters with. That was a challenge that I wanted to work on. And also people who join Toastmasters, usually the impromptu speaking portion, table topics, even in an advanced Toastmasters club, courage is grace under pressure, according to Ernest Hemingway. Pressure, but handling it with grace. That's me. And finally, courage starts with showing up and letting ourselves be seen, vulnerable, even outer space, in cyberspace. Dr. Brene Brown says that courage starts with showing up and letting ourselves be seen. Leadership roles are very important. I will not take up too much time going over all of my leadership roles, but boy, did I conquer my courageousness, if that's a word. I'm a courageous lion, so to speak. And Toastmasters can be scary. However, it takes courage to conquer your fears and just jump out there. That is my introduction to you from me. Thank you. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster of the evening.
Very good. Thank you so much for sharing. Our next speech is 5 to 7 minutes, and it's Adrienne Williams, entitled Short to the Point. Now, this is a motivational strategy speech level 2, learning your style and understanding your communication style. Adrienne has over 20 years of experience as an executive in the financial services industry. She enjoys traveling the Caribbean, meeting people, and has been a member of online presenters for several years. Adrienne, the virtual stage is yours.
Thank you. According to Toastmasters International, we have 4 different communication styles. Has anyone ever told you, you need to work on your communication? Well, perhaps this will be something that can help you identify your communication style. There are 4 of them. We are called to be either supportive, those people are very patient. They support you in anything you do, usually nurturing as well. Analytical, those are usually your techies. We like to know the numbers, what's going on. I need to know all the details. There are some that are very direct. Okay, it's time to start. Everybody get in place. Let's go. Or initiating. That person will entertain everyone. They will be social. They're engaging. And we need all of those different personality types, especially here, to run this meeting. I took an assessment, and part of this speech is to identify my communication style. My communication style, which most of you know, is very direct. It's kind of straight and to the point. And I think in some cases that can be great, especially in your career. I come from a background of financial services, audit. I've been a past corporate controller. And in those situations, people are busy. They don't have a lot of time. You need to come in, you need to say what you have to say and get on to the next thing. Another career choice where that would be great, attorneys, lawyers, things like that, where they don't want you to sit and tell them a story. They're not gonna sit and listen to you all day. You're talking, they're listening, but in their head, they're like, what do I need for dinner tonight? They're making a checklist in their head. They're on a whole nother thing in their head, but they're trying not to be disrespectful to you. But I promise you, it's not you, it's them. They can't help it. Who knows why this is in our DNA this way, that we all react different places in different ways in different situations. But it's important for us to recognize our communication style, especially in Toastmasters, because people get offended, they get hurt, and we don't even know we've hurt you. Sometimes I'm rushing. I'm trying to get my nerves together. I still get nervous before I speak. It's like something is rolling around in my stomach. And I have been in Toastmasters, I know, 10 years, back and forth, in and out. I'm gonna do it, then I'm not. And through all that time, I've been working on different personality styles, communication styles. Sometimes I think when I'm dealing with different personalities, it's just better for me to say nothing. Because if I talk too much, they're going to be offended. Then it's a thing. And then I'm going to be the person in the club. So sometimes I just rather say nothing until you're asked. Oh, you asking a question? You're talking to me? Okay, I'll respond. Because I am going to be short, quick, and to the point. You're going to be like, she said the answer in like 15 seconds. Does she like me? She doesn't want to engage me? I have more questions. I'm not meaning to be that way, but it's just short and direct and to the point. Now, there are times when I have to think about my communication style and spreading it out, just like this speech. 7 minutes seems like forever. I could tell you all these things in 30 seconds, but Toastmasters is teaching us how to take a concept, develop it, slow it down, marinate it. It's almost like making a meal. A little bit here. We're going to start with the appetizer. We're going to tell you about what we're talking about. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring in the soup. You might have that. We're taking you through this whole journey so we can bring you the meal. And when we bring the meal to you, it's the substance of what we're talking about. In our head, we're already on dessert. We're like, how much time is left because I am done with this speech? But as I look for the timer, I don't see any times going on. So that means that you have to keep going. In that situation, I can't be direct and to the point. I have to elaborate and express myself and put myself in a situation that's very uncomfortable. I learned that the communication style for me with being direct is good at work because in accounting, it's not really a lot to talk about. It's financial statements. Here's the number. Here's what we need to do. There's the plan. That's it. It's very specific. It's to the point. It's accountable. We can focus on solution-based decisions. We don't really have to talk about what happened last year and the last audit. We're kind of like, look, sir, here's your audit. These are the recommendations that we're going to make. This is what you need to do in this situation. And that's it. Now, in relationships, that's another story. That doesn't work. Because when I was married, if my husband would be like, what are we having for dinner? And I say, how many places did you drive past to get here? You didn't stop and get something? That doesn't work in that situation, to be direct. It would be a better thing for me to have some compassion and be more of a supportive role where I'm saying, honey, what do you want? I will help make whatever you want. Do you want to make something together? Would you like to eat out today? And I would have to drag that whole conversation out to get a balance of what we both want to do and how to make that happen. Because if I was short, direct, and to the point, I probably might have said, I already ate before I got home and I'm not hungry. You need to feed yourself. You're an adult. But that doesn't work in that situation. So in different situations, we need to learn to have some compassion. Maybe your best friend had a rough day and she wants to tell you this long story. And you're going to have to be so engaged. Really? Did that happen? Girl, what were they wearing? Did you wear the suit you bought when we were at Burdines or Macy's the other day? And engage that person with their personality style, not your personality style, because they are not interested in how you communicate. 9 times out of 10, especially in relationships, you're opposites. You don't have the same communication style. And so it's important to take baby steps and really try to understand what the person is trying to communicate to you. In relationships, it's the same with friendships. Your friends know already that you're direct and to the point. So in order to make the relationship better, you have to sit there. Maybe you want to have a 5-minute conversation. Some of your friends will have you on the phone for 45 minutes and you're thinking, when is the conversation going to end? But in the meantime, you sit there, you talk, and what happens? The next time they call, you send them right to voicemail because I don't have time for a 45-minute conversation today. So fellow Toastmasters and guests, think about your communication style and how you communicate, and let that be a guide to help you with your communication style at work, in your relationships, and with your friends. Thank you.
Adrian, I am just laughing because you and I have very similar communication styles. Thank you so much. Next, we want to welcome to Cyberspace our club president, Andy Burns, and he gets a double round of applause because he wasn't on the schedule. But since no one else volunteered, he say, I'll jump in there, Angela, as speaker number 3. Andy is going to be sharing with us some little known pathway tools that we all need to understand. Andy, the floor is yours.
Thank you. First question, let me see by raising your hand or putting the reaction button up. How many people regularly use the e-portfolio to either give comments to other people giving speeches during the club session, or badges when you're especially impressed with what they're doing? Let me see how many people are doing that. Nobody's doing that. And that's why we're having this session. We're going to explain it all so that you can get the most out of it. Have you ever been in a situation where you're going for an award and you have to fill out these forms that say, when did you do this? And when did you do that? And what programs have you finished? And you're saying, where am I going to find that? Well, that's why they built this into Pathway. Each person that's on Pathway has their own locker, their own storage cabinet where you can put information in. So I'm going to, hopefully this will work out. I'm sharing my screen now. And I'm going to share my, does everyone see my Pathways screen? Yes? No? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So this is the starting point. First tip, does everybody know about the use of this yellow welcome? Underneath that yellow welcome is a whole bunch of dynamic activities that open up for you, ranging from going to Pathways to identifying your educational awards, membership history, sponsorships, and it lists your number, your address, and most importantly, the different clubs you belong to. And that's important. And I'll explain why. So let's say, for example, there are many people that belong to multiple clubs. If you want to make sure that the points that you get qualified for gets assigned to the right club, you first go when you open up your program and identify which club you're working with. In this case, it's online presenters. So I first click on that, and that tells the system that for the purposes of my putting information in, I'm giving credits to online presenters. This is very important because when you then go into Pathways and finish a Pathways program, if you didn't do that first, what would happen is that your credit might go somewhere else. All right, so that's the first important thing. Now, if you look at this page and you go down towards the back, you'll see paths and learning, your feedback, your badges, and your documents. And you'll see this video. It's about 4 or 5 minutes, and it talks about the home page. But let me click on feedback. When you hit feedback, the first thing that you want to do is search for a person in the club that just gave a speech. So for example, Pamela gave a speech. So I put Pamela and her name comes up and I see a little bit about Pamela. And if I wanted to give her feedback, I just press feedback and say, great speech. Now, for people that are meeting in person like we all used to do in the different clubs, these things are the equivalent of people passing little notes in between your conversations so that they know how you felt about it, how it impacted you. And then once you put down your feedback, you then select out everyone gets it, or just Pam gets it, or Pam, and you can also select out the managers to see what you're talking about there. And if you want to give her a badge, you can click that and you can say, for you, the speech was inspirational, innovative, exceptional, courageous, and things of that nature. So for her, I'm going to say it was innovative. I learned about something new. And then you post it. When Pam then opens up her storage box or ePortfolio, that will be there. The other reason to have the ePortfolio is after you get your evaluations, you can put those documents into your portfolio, and they have it structured so that they can be saved as level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, so you can find all your project results right there. And that's a good place to be so that you always know where things are. You also can visit the evaluations page, and you'll see that there is, now David has it structured for our club where you can easily find all these things. But if you hit that evaluation resource, you can see all the different things that are listed there and know that the level 1 program is replicated through all of the 11 programs that exist. But you can see all of the structure that you can go back to and pull out that information. So I'm going backwards now. So that's just a brief going through of what is available to you. And I recommend you use it because after you go down a while and you say, what lecture did I do, or what speech did I do, and which club did I do it in, you can use that storage to list the speeches you have, when you have it, and to which group you gave it to. And that stays with you, and you can find out that information and put it there for you. Did anybody learn anything so far today? Who's now going to try and apply it and send little love notes to the individual speakers that we had today? Let them know that you appreciated them speaking to you today. Or you can send them a badge and they can decorate their walls with the badges that they have. All right? If you have any questions, just send me an email. I'll be happy to answer those questions for you. Back to you.
Thank you, Andy. I didn't know anything about that, of course, and it seemed like most of us didn't know anything about that. So thank you for sharing. Now, before we go on to a fun part of our cyberspace time together, you know, when I think of cyberspace, I think of you guys, and I think of the connection, the interconnectedness that we all experience. But then when I was preparing for this, listen, I thought about cyberspace a different way. I thought about a situation where humans and AI started to have a huge disagreement and AI won. And I saw that they felt we human beings were a threat to them. Our very existence was only plugged into this simulated dream, and they were using us for our electrical currency and for our heat. Cyberspace, that's where that can happen. Oh, sorry, it already happened. That was a movie. It was called The Matrix. So back to the good part of cyberspace. The next part of our meeting is table topics. That is when we get a chance to practice our extemporaneous speaking. And for tonight's table topics, welcome to the virtual stage, Toastmaster Carl Wash, to lead us in some fun. Carl, over to you.
Well, good evening or morning to everyone. We've been talking about cyberspace here and the nightmare scenario that Angela just laid out for us. Yes, that's one of the fears, isn't it? And yet cyberspace gives us they have expanded our horizons so dramatically. But then there's the problem that it's only as good as what goes into it. And unfortunately, most of the stuff in there is not good. And why is that? Because sadly, most people have, well, not most people, but a significant number of people have very small, tiny minds that are very narrowly focused, and they can't, well, let's just say that they're devoid of imagination. So that's where I'm going to take us tonight. We're going to go to the land of imagination. We're going to go to the land of if. And so every question tonight is going to be related to if. So here's my first question. If you could have the hair of someone you know, whose would you take? If you could have the hair of someone you know, whose would you take? And that one has to go to Lewis. Lewis.
Thanks, Mr. Topics. I'm like, it's either going to be Andre or me. I knew it's going to be one of us two. You know, I have to say, though, if you would have asked the Lou of 5 or 10 years ago this question, I would have probably blurted out the names of 5 or 6 dudes who had these heads of hair that are just out to there, or long hair, curly hair, even a man bun. I mean, any kind of imaginable hair out there. That's stylish, of course, and trendy. I would have picked any of them. But I will say, around about 5 years ago and up through today, I've changed my tune. I said, you know what? I am going to embrace my baldness. I am going to be the bald person I was meant to be. I am not going to change anything about me, because God made me the way I am. He chose, sadly, for me to be bald at the age I became bald at, and said, but you know what? You're still beautiful, whether you got a full head of hair or a head of no hair, or even the few hairs that I did have for a while that I said, you know what? Having just a few hairs on there really makes me look even older than I should look. You know what? I haven't even been timing this. This is crazy. Sorry. That, you know what? You just shave it off and you'll still look better with no hair. So better to have either no hair, a lot of hair, than have those little bits of chunks.
I can't look at you.
Of hair patches. Just look silly, I think, on men that really should just get rid of it. Back to you, Mr. Topics Master.
Okay. Thank you, Lou. That's great. And you know what? I'm right behind you there. I'm heading into that direction, and you inspired me this evening. So I'm going to go out to ePortfolio and give you a badge for that. So thank you very, very much. Now, my next question is, if you could eliminate one day in your past so that you had never had to live through it, which day would you erase? If you could eliminate one day in your past so that you had never had to live through it, which day would you erase? And I'm going to throw that one towards, let's see here, Maggie.
Thank you. It's just coincidence. I was talking with my daughter the other day because she was doing a swimming contest, and something happened and she's been disqualified. She was very sad as she's only 11 years old. And I tried to cheer her up. And I was like, you know what? I have a failure log. I have a failure journal. I never told you because I don't want to show how, fragile I am, but I actually writing down all the things I wasn't really like myself. But if you ask me, do I want to erase those days? The answer is no, because I actually learned a lot. Once I wrote them down, did I either screw up? Did I either say something stupid, offended people? And what's the outcome from those failures is I try to learn. I try to be a better person. I try to do something different. Once I wrote them all down, I clearly remember and I want to push myself to move on. So if you ask me the question, is there any day I want to erase from my life? Of course, I don't want to erase any of the happy moment, and I don't want to erase any of those failures. I think we all build up with the past. Whatever happiness or failure or embarrassment, they made up us right now. So I don't want to erase any day. Any day is a big wealth for myself. Thank you very much. Back to you, Table Topic Master.
Thank you for that. Now to go to the other side of the spectrum here, how about this? If you could relive one single day from your past exactly as it happened, what day would you choose to experience all over again? If you could relive one single day from your past exactly as it happened, what day would you choose to experience all over again? And that one goes over to Andre.
Thank you very much, Mr. Table Topics Master. What a wonderful question about one single day or event I would love to relive. Well, strangely enough, that would be a first date I had with my ex-wife. Yes, about 20 years ago, I fell in love with that woman of my dreams, a beautiful Italian bella donna in London, in one of their posh restaurants. When I saw her, I thought that was the woman I was going to marry. And I popped a question just about 4 months later after us going out. Unfortunately, our relationship did not work out according to the plan, or maybe it did. Yes, we did divorce and we have 2 children in common these days. And yet, despite all disagreements and bitterness that still from time to time hunting me down, I would love to relive that moment of happiness when I saw a mother of my children, a woman I was going to marry, a woman I was going to make the happiest woman on earth, even if it didn't work out. But I've tried, and I would like to relive that moment again. Back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you. Dr. Hall, are you available for a question?
Yes, I can be, but I don't have a camera. I'm driving.
Well, okay. Well, I'll give you a quick question then, but yes, don't turn on your camera. If you could read the mind of anyone you know, who would it be? If you could read the mind of anyone you know, who would it be?
Thank you, Table Topic Master. When you say the word no, immediately I thought about the Dalai Lama. I don't know him, but I kind of sort of know him. And I just thought, I've often, whenever I've got so much going on, and I thought, how is it possible that someone could just be Zen? And how can I be Zen? Just so calm, when you're doing so much. And I think I would love to read the mind of someone like the Dalai Lama that has the ability to really be present and on the breath, and to be still in chaos. That's how I perceive him to be. And you said the word no. And so I feel, because, when you read things about people and someone like myself, I take on mentors that I've not necessarily have met. So that would be one person that I would like to be, to have the ability, him, Nelson Mandela, people like that, who can survive in times of difficulties. Back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent answer. And that takes us to the end of our time for table topics. And so I return control of the meeting to our Toastmaster. Go right ahead, Angela.
Thank you so much. I love Toastmasters. And guys, I got so caught up in cyberspace, I forgot two important things. Voting. Maybe you saw the link to vote for the best speaker. And I assume that the link for the best table topics person is coming soon if I missed it. But if you have not voted for the best speaker of tonight, I can copy that link since it was my fault for forgetting to tell you and put that back in chat. And perhaps our vote counter can pull the link for the best table topics person and put that in chat. Now we are rounding up to the final part of our presentation. And this is a very special part of the presentation. It's evaluations. Because with evaluations, we all get better. And so in honor of that, I'm going to take a moment, change my clothes, and then I'm going to call forth our general evaluator, Carolina Ramirez. Take the virtual stage, Carolina. Carolina, are you with us?
I think she's frozen. Maybe you can go to number 2 and come back to number 1.
She's the general evaluator.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, Carolina, you are frozen. I'm not even sure if you hear us or not. But with that, what we'll do is go to evaluator number 1. And if she gets a chance to either come back in or correct her, her video, we'll turn it back over to her. But evaluator number 1 is Rick Derling, and he is going to be evaluating speaker number 1, not Natalia. The floor is yours, Rick.
Good evening, fellow online presenters, and especially Natalia. Natalia, tonight you asked me to focus on a couple of things, and I'm going to talk about various elements of those, but I want to compliment you first on some of the things that you did very, very well. Eye contact, spot on as far as I'm concerned. While you were looking away occasionally, your looking away was appropriate. I did not feel personally that you were letting me go as an audience. I was able to stay with you, and I felt you were continuing to look at me. You also used a lot of really good words, and I'm really big on using words that matter, that give the audience something to feel. Courageous is just one of many words that you used. I like that. It's excellent. Another area that I saw you working with, but I have some suggestions in this space, is your gestures. Gestures are extremely powerful in bringing an audience in. And we're going to talk about some of that as we get further down the line here. But I want to compliment you on a couple. You used a circular gesture when you were talking about arranging your panel discussion. Perfect. And then you did this when you said, hey, I'm absolutely confident I nailed that. Now I'll caution you, this is getting ahead of myself a little bit, be careful with that closed fist. That's not necessarily a gesture that people are going to interpret the way you intend it. Altogether, a lot of really good stuff, including starting with audience interaction. That definitely brings people in, something that a lot of people just skip, particularly when they're doing icebreakers. But since you've done a number of them and you no doubt use that technique, you're comfortable with it, and I was glad to see it. Some of the things I'm going to suggest you work on. This is suggestions only. Your pacing is solid. It's very good. There is no problem being able to understand what you're saying. It goes and flows beautifully. But consider using pacing a little bit. For instance, when you made the remark, "I'm a courageous lion," listen to how it'll be different if we just speed it up a little bit and increase our tone slightly. "I'm a courageous lion." It really changes the characteristic of that. And that's something that you can consider using, is vocal tone and pacing combined together to really wake the audience up. By the way, that's an excellent technique for helping people actually stay with you, particularly in a Zoom meeting. Gestures, as I've already talked about, are really important. You used this at least once in your speech. And to me, that's a beautiful gesture because it's inviting people to come into your speech. That's really a powerful gesture. Give some thought to using gestures for purpose during your speech. Actually script them right into your speech. I'm going to make my point here. It will really take your speech to a whole new level. Altogether, I really enjoyed your speech. I've got a couple other things that I'll suggest in my notes to you. In the meantime, I very much enjoyed your speech. Thank you for it tonight. Back to Carolina if she's back. Otherwise, back to our Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Rick. I couldn't hear your evaluation, but it was great. I have a question. I lost the connection. Did I interrupt the meeting or everything was okay?
No, you're fine. We just let the first evaluator go, so you can take over from here and call up the second evaluator.
I was worried because I was the host and I thought that the meeting was over.
No, it's fine.
Great. Awesome. Our second evaluator of this evening is Jim Barber, and he's going to evaluate Adrian's speech.
Welcome back, Madam General Evaluator. We missed you.
Thank you, Jim.
My fellow Toastmasters, our guests, and especially Toastmaster Adrienne Williams. Adrienne, tonight you spoke on communication styles, and you demonstrated that your communication style is very effective, and you showed that. You not only talked about it, you showed us how well it worked. Congratulations, it was great. Let me focus to start with on your vocals. Everything here was so good. Your speed, your pacing were fast enough so that you kept us interested. They were varied though, so that we didn't get bored. It wasn't a constant thing. You varied. You a little bit louder, you talked a little bit softer. That was so very, very well done. You have a conversational style. It's the 3 C's, I think, that I've talked about before. You're conversational, you're confident, and you are comfortable. There we are, the third one, the third C. Comfortable, confident, and conversational. Those are 3 things. They can't be taught. You have them, and you've developed them over time, and you just appear so well visually on camera. Which brings me to how you looked on camera. Let's see if I can bring that up. Here's how you were. Let's start with your gestures. As you can see there, your gestures were appropriate. I like that. They were congruent with what you were talking about. They were easily seen. You brought your gestures up as you did here, brought your gestures up beside your head. That was very, very well done. I loved your gestures. You have excellent screen presence. You are animated on the screen. Your gestures, your entire body language were animated, and they kept us involved. That was so well done. I have 2.5 suggestions for you, and you can see the 2 of them here. One suggestion is you're a little bit low in the frame. The upper part from the top of your head to the top of the frame, there's just too much space there, and you're not using the visual frame effectively. Either raise yourself up or lower the camera, one or the other, to get you a little bit higher in the frame, and we'll be able to see more of you. It'll work a little bit better. Also, while we're here, I love your background. It's so good. It's appropriate. It's clear. I like it, except that you are covering over the text itself, which made it difficult to read. We kind of had to guess about it. It was a little bit distracting. So I love the background, but just if you could rearrange it a little bit so that the text is on either side or above you or something like that. The only other thing I have, and this is a personal suggestion, you ended with thank you. That's a weak ending. You had a great ending up to that point. Don't thank us, just stop and keep on going from that point. But this was a very effective presentation, thoroughly enjoyed it, and looking forward to the next one. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Jim, for that great evaluation. Our last evaluator of this evening is Rosina Duncanson, and she's going to evaluate Andrew Byrne's speech. Welcome, Rosina.
Thank you very much, General Evaluator. Distinguished Toastmaster Andrew Byrne, I just happened to hear during the introduction that you were called up last minute, and it shows the power of an experienced Toastmaster who can take a moment's notice and produce a phenomenal speech. Pathways is our education system for Toastmasters, and you went through the tool with immense experience and knowledge. You did a pulse check first to see who in the room knew about the tool or what you were about to discuss, so you could determine how deep or whether you should remain high level. So thank you for ensuring that we were all ready to receive all that you had to offer. You also utilized visual aids. You're able to walk us through with the visual aspect for those that are visual learners, as well as using the auditory method for those that prefer just listening as they learn. So I want to say kudos to you on using both tools to truly showcase how we can take our pathways experience to the next level with the badges and the feedback. And you also had a call to action. You encouraged us to use that feedback tool throughout the session. So I'm hoping that others took that note and logged into pathways and sent feedback to persons who would have spoken today. But again, kudos to you for one, taking that leap at last minute, using the tool that we are learning to know so much better. And of course, using the show and tell. If I could give you some feedback, of course, due to timing, I know it's always difficult, but I would like to see a lot more eye contact from you. I know you were leveraging using the tools. I didn't see enough of your eyes throughout the session, but outside of that, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much, Distinguished Toastmaster Byrne. Back to you, Carolina.
Thank you very much, Rosina. Mr. Timer, all the evaluators are qualified?
Yes, Madam GE, I will put all the times in the chat box, but all evaluators qualified.
Thank you very much, Lou. So you can vote for the best evaluator of the evening, and at the end of the meeting, we'll have the results. Now it's time to hear the rest of evaluations for this meeting. And the first one is the accounter, Johnny. Welcome, Johnny, again to the virtual stage.
Thank you, everybody. My apologies. I'm hoping that there is no feedback. My other device froze. Excuse me for not being able to be on camera. For speaker number one, we had a pause remembering the Toastmaster of the day. Our table topics master also had a pause, and Dr. Karen had a during her table topics. But the Wizard of Oz today was actually our second speaker, and for a very different reason. Her crutch word was because. You actually used it more than 5 times. And though your evaluator already stated, let me reiterate, we should be the ones thanking you, not you thanking us at the end of the speech. You are also a fellow of mine with the extremely fast tone. And because of that, I need to add that pauses can actually be a good thing. When you ask a question, pause and allow for us to answer, because some of us need time to process. And also, even if it is a rhetorical question, persons will be thinking of the answer. And if you go on to another point, they will or may miss it. Overall, great session by most. Back to you, our General Evaluator.
Thank you, Johnny, for that evaluation. Our next person in the evaluation portion of the meeting is the grammarian, Linda.
A pleasant good evening, and thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator. I would first like to start off my evaluation this evening by stating what I thought was a notable quote, and that was delivered by our first prepared speaker. Courage is what it takes to stand up and speak. Courage is also what it takes to sit down and listen. My grammarian's report this evening is as follows. Distinguished Toastmaster Natalia Van Nelson, what you stated was, I have conquered my courageousness. Now, while the word courageousness is grammatically correct, I believe to put it in the context in which you were attempting to deliver and demonstrate to us a more favorable way to have framed that particular sentence is by stating that I have embraced my courageousness. And secondly, distinguished Toastmaster Andrew Byrne, what was said was, that's just a brief going through what you have to do. What would have been a more favorable statement is, this is just a brief demonstration of this process. Here ends my grammarian's report. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Linda, for your report. Our watcher today is Andriy Smalenko. Andriy, how did we look?
We look great, Madam General Evaluator. We did indeed. This is why we advanced online club. And of course, we look great and almost nothing to mention about. However, I've noticed a few things. Personally, I'm not a big fan of blur virtual backgrounds. And I give you a little challenge, perhaps for the next time. Many of us could let us into your world. I would say there are two good ways to do it properly. One, use proper virtual backgrounds for the theme. And two, don't use virtual background at all. Let us see a little bit of what's behind you. So I have some books, I have some paintings, and so on. If you're curious, let me know. And hopefully, one of next meetings, one of our club members is Brian David Crawford. When he's here, you will know exactly what I mean, but not using blur virtual backgrounds. Overall, great night. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Andrew, for those tips. And the chat monitor today is Lou Brown. He has a double role today.
Thank you, Madam GE. The chat was fairly quiet today, this afternoon, wherever you may be. In addition to well wishes for Maggie, I kind of caught that as I was coming into the meeting. I'm not sure what's going on, but I hope for you a speedy recovery myself. And our president, Mr. Byrne, shared with us a couple of informational tidbits, which he often does, which I always enjoy reading about. In the context of Carl's table topics, the Fig Mint, I believe is his name, or Fig at the Imagination Ride at Disney. Always love that ride. And the Body Language TED Talk by Amy Cuddy, which I also enjoy, the superhero power pose thing. Check it out really well. Back to you, Madam GE.
Thank you very much, Lou. As general remarks, thanks to all those who took roles at the last minute, especially to our guest, Linda. Great job. Carl, great questions for the table topic section. You did a great work, and all the speakers in that section, that the vote section is going to be difficult. And evaluators, great job, especially Jim. I love the way you use the visuals in order to illustrate the good points, the bad points. I love the way you do the structure of your evaluations. And things to improve, we have to fill the roles with some anticipation. And if you're not going to be here in this meeting, look for someone to replace your role. And it's going to be easier the job of those members who are here participating in the meeting. And saying this was a great meeting, and I pass the meeting to our Toastmaster of the day, Angela Heath. Back to you, Angela.
Thank you, Carolina. And so in closing this chapter of cyberspace, from my perspective, I'd like to say it was so nice we had this time together. It was so nice to see your friendly faces. It was so nice for us all around the world to be joined together. And now we're separating. We're going to go back to Manchester and to the Bahamas and to the UK and, you know, to different parts of the world. And so we've got to be appreciative of cyberspace, because without it, we would have no online presenters. With that, over to our president, Andrew Burns. Thank you, guys.
Okay, normally at some point before the end of the meeting, we would turn to our Vice President of Education and at least identify the Toastmaster of the day and a few other roles for next week. I have the agenda for next week open, and no one has yet selected the
Would you like
Toastmaster.
to end the meeting, the recording?
We forgot to find out officially who won all of the different parts of the contest.
Right, and before
Madam
we
Evaluator, did you want to share that?
Yes, it's an honor to present Best Speaker, Andrea Williams. And
thank you.
Well done. Yep. Best Evaluator, Jim Barber. Same one to you. And thank you for the opportunity for me to speak out today as well. I got a best table topic. So thank you very much. Back to you.
The other thing that we do now that the meeting is we can close the recording. And
It's still going.
huh?